Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. and first up is the land acknowledgement, and I'll call on Councillor D'Angelo to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattewarandock and the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The city of Thorold stands with all the Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Thank you, Councillor D'Angelo. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the order of the agenda? Seeing none, can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? I have a mover, Councillor Hanley, and a seconder, Councillor Longo. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes? I got a mover, Councillor Longo, and a seconder, Councillor O'Hare. And they are CL 23-2022, Tuesday, September 27th minutes, and CL 24-2022, Tuesday, November 22nd minutes, the inaugural meeting. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, are we going to try this? Now we're going to try and vote electronically, please. Let's try the electronic voting and we'll see how we go. If we can't, then you'll raise your hand. Anybody that can, the clerk will be watching. And so, yes, go ahead.
I noticed there's three.
What's that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. There's three addendums. Are we to follow, since I last looked at my e-scribe, I never saw these three addendums. I guess they were just added. Are we just going by the regular e-scribe that we had originally that I'm familiar with, or?
I'll let the clerk answer that. I think they're merged in, are they not?
So any, through you, Mr. Mayor, any addendum items that would have appeared would show in your merged document. So if you're looking at the full document in eScribe, the complete merged would have absolutely everything in there. You could also scroll down on the left-hand side, looking at individual items to select from there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Passes, Mr. Mayor.
What's that?
That passes.
And
that
that's passive. Councillor Longo raised his hand. Okay, thank you. Mayor's report. Tonight's meeting is the first of this term of council. The inaugural meeting of council was held on November 22nd at John Michael's Banquet and Event Center, where councillors were sworn in for the 2022-2026 term. I would like to once again take this opportunity to welcome you and look forward to working together over the next 4 years to continue to move the city of Thorold forward and make sure it is the best place to live, work, invest in, and raise a family. On behalf of City Council, I would like to thank the Special Events Committee, our Councillor Rep, Councillor Decker, city staff, and all the volunteers who dedicated their time and organized the very successful Santa Claus Parade as we celebrated its 30th anniversary. The community responded in record numbers and the weather cooperated. We look forward to next year's parade. On Saturday, December 3rd, Jane and I attended the second annual Great Gift Giveaway at Merrittville Speedway, hosted by Don and Lorraine Spees. They welcomed hundreds of children and their families who also had an opportunity to visit Santa Claus and have a photo op. Thank you to Don and Lorraine for your generosity, all the sponsors and volunteers for making this important event so successful. MP Vance Badaway, Councillor Hanley, and Councillor DeRose were also in attendance. On December 3rd, I attended the Friends of Beaver Dams Church food drive, wreath hanging, and carol singing event. Councillor O'Hara and Councillor Sentence were also in attendance. The renovations are progressing well. Drywall is completed, the balcony level is opened up, and the acoustics are excellent. The Friends of Beaver Dams group are doing an amazing job. The Great Holiday Food Drive is this Friday, December 9th. This is the largest annual food drive event of the year in our area, and it supports Community Care St. Catharines Thorold. The Holiday Inn Express bus will be arriving at the Pine Plaza in front of Foodland this Friday between 2 and 2:45 p.m. for food collection and monetary donations. You can contribute all day or at any other time, not just the time that the bus is there. Let's get out and support this event. It is more important than ever before due to an increased need not only in our city but across the region. We also have collection bins here at City Hall, and they'll remain here until December 16th. Thank you, Mark Carl, CEO of Habitat for Humanity Niagara, for the invitation to the groundbreaking ceremony yesterday, December 5th, on Mary Street in Thorold South, where 5 new homes will be constructed. Regional Councillor Whalen was also in attendance. The contributions of Habitat for Humanity will transform the lives of many of our local families. We have seen how inflation, rising interest rates, and cost of housing has taken a tremendous toll on all our residents. Affordable home ownership is essential as we thrive and grow. The City of Thorold is proud to have Habitat for Humanity Niagara building in our community again. Thank you, Councillor O'Hara, for representing City Council at the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women breakfast hosted by the Niagara Regional Labour Council at Club Capri this morning. Also known informally as White Ribbon Day, it is a day commemorated in Canada each December 6th, the anniversary of the 1989 École Polytech massacre, where 14 women were murdered and another 14 injured. The Coalition to End Violence Against Women organizations from across the Niagara region are working towards ending gender-based violence against all women and their children. The City of Thorold lowered flags to half-mast today to commemorate the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. Community Care St. Catharines Thorold hosted the Feed Ontario report for Niagara this morning, which I attended. The report identifies the issues and concerns regarding food security. Niagara food banks have come together as Feed Niagara to meet the alarming need for emergency services as food bank usage climbs across the province. This once again highlights the importance of partnerships and collaboration. Thorold Fire and Emergency Services has partnered with the Fire Marshal's Public Safety Council and Country 89 on the upcoming 12 days of holiday fire and carbon monoxide safety campaign. From December 12th to 23rd, be sure to listen daily to Country 89 for a holiday safety message and a chance to win a prize. On behalf of City Council, thank you, City staff, for your continued dedication to the City of Thorold's Emergency Management Program. The training you recently completed is another step forward in keeping our community safe. The City of Thorold is happy to announce the return of the annual Festival of Lights, a virtual holiday event showcasing light displays throughout the city. From November 23rd to December 21st, residents and businesses are invited to submit pictures of their decorated homes and storefronts to be included in the interactive Festival of Lights map. The map will be updated with new submissions throughout the month of December. For more information, please visit the City of Thorold website at thorold.ca. The Thorold Community Arena is offering a number of holiday skates between December 27th and January 6th. As a special treat, the city will be serving free hot chocolate during these holiday skates. Visit our City of Thorold website at thorold.ca for more information on booking times and availability. And that's the end of my mayor's remarks. And now we'll move on to statutory public meeting under the Planning Act. I'll call to order the public meeting being held pursuant to the provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, CP 13 as amended, respecting zoning bylaw amendment for 2 South Main Street. Up first on our presentation, a city staff presentation by Megan Burbeck, Senior Planner. I'll call on Megan for your presentation respecting the zoning bylaw amendment application.
Hi, I can't start my video. Matthew, would you be able to start my video for me?
You got it?
Sorry, Megan, can you try that?
So I think you had changed me to an attendee, but that wouldn't let me start a video or talk. I can just talk if that works.
Sorry, can you share your screen? Does it allow you to?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
There we go.
we can see it.
Yep.
Let me just start at the front. Okay, so tonight there's a public meeting for 2 South Main Street. This application has gone through 2 pre-consultations. And from their first pre-consultation, they have reduced the scope, the intensity of the development on the site, and have decided to put an application forward for the proposed development of the site. So 2 South Main Street is within Port Robinson East Special Area. This special area designation recognizes the long-standing residential use of the area. The development of the area can be seen over the different years on the screen here. So these go from 1934, 1965, 2000, 2010, and 2020. The images are small, but I hope they show the change of the land over the years, from more of a agricultural use to more of a residential use area. So this proposal kind of has 2 folds to it. The first fold is it requires a zoning bylaw amendment. The proposed development would also require consent applications through the Committee of Adjustments. Staff decided to go to the council first so that council would be able to better direct the future use of this property than having it go to the Committee of Adjustment for severance, and then having a zoning bylaw amendment condition added on potentially. So we are going to council first to deal with the zoning, and subject to the decisions of council, the development would go to the Committee of Adjustments, depending on the direction of council for the severance of the land. So a quick analysis of the provincial and regional policies. Infill development on the subject area does not go against the provincial policy statement, the growth plan, or the regional official plan. So this, recently the Niagara official plan was amended. Regional staff have indicated that the change from their previous official plan to their current official plan, both official plans would not stop or reject this proposed infill on the property. Our official plan indicates that the area is urban living area, which recognizes that residential use is permitted. And then it provides a specific note that for semi-detached dwellings, council is to consider 4 main areas that the proposed semi-detached dwelling would respect the character of adjacent residential neighbors in terms of its height, bulk, and massing, can easily be integrated into surrounding uses, will not cause or create traffic hazards or unacceptable levels of congestion, is located on a site that has adequate land for the different amenities and uses needed for that land. So that is one area for when a decision or recommendation report comes forward. Those are key areas that council will need to consider. With the area being a special policy area for the Port Robinson East, it is noted that residential use is permitted. The area is not intended for growth. However, infill of lots is a permitted use. So with that, it means that the growth that would be permitted through consent, but not through subdivision. So for the zoning bylaw, currently the city of Thorold has 2 zoning bylaws when dealing with residential lots because of one being under appeal. I'm just going to do a quick overview of how the different zoning bylaws are impacted by the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. So the first part would be our 1997 zoning bylaw. For the area of the lot that has the existing single detached dwelling, it would require a variance or a reduction in the front yard setback, but this would be an existing setback because the single detached dwelling that's on the property is existing, isn't proposed to be changed. And then recognizing that there's an exterior side yard setback that goes against the lines. City staff have looked into it, and there is an encroachment agreement from 1993 for this bay window going over their lot line. And then from the 1997 zoning bylaw, the area that is proposed for single or semi-detached dwellings is that part 2 and part 3, or lot 2 and 3 on the screen. So what's being proposed is to have a semi-detached dwelling fronting South Main Street, and then a semi-detached dwelling fronting the other street. So from the 1997 zoning bylaw, the areas that would need to be addressed would be lot area for the lot 3, lot frontage for the lot 3, and then front yard setback for both of those lot 2 and lot 3. And then from our 2019 zoning bylaw, for the first lot, the area that would need to be recognized is the side yard. That setback, again, because of the encroachment of the bay window. However, in our 2019 zoning bylaw, the front yard setback wouldn't be an issue. The accessory proposed building that would be relocated to lot 1 has a higher height than that's permitted, so that would need a variance. And then the porch area would also need a variance with our 2019 zoning bylaw. Then for the lots for the semi-detached, the only area in our 2019 zoning bylaw that would need a kind of a variance through the zoning bylaw amendment would be the rear yard. With which lots they're proposing to change the zoning bylaw to, the lot area and lot frontage are no longer an issue. It's just that rear yard setback. For all of this, there's no parking variances that are being requested. Our 1997 zoning bylaw only requires 1 parking space, and our 2019 zoning bylaw requires 2 parking spaces. So each proposed area shows 2 parking spaces. We have received comments from agencies. So our finance department indicates that there's some outstanding taxes that are due. MTO has indicated that this is not MTO permit control area, so they have no issues. The Niagara region indicates that the proposal is consistent with the PPS and their regional plans. At the time of making the PowerPoint in the report, I had not received comment from the public, but I have received a comment from the public today. That comment from the public indicated they were worried about the parking, even though it doesn't go against the zoning bylaws. They were worried of congestion of parking in that area. They were also worried about the new or the proposed houses impacting the nature of the community in terms of having a closer wall to neighbors. Believe the member of the public might be on. He intended to come on today, so they might have something else to share. But at this time, this is just a public meeting, so nothing is being recommended, just an overview at this time. So I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you, Megan. Are there any questions from council to Megan? Seeing none, thank you, Megan, for your presentation. Oh, go ahead, Councillor DeRose, sorry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Megan, I'm just curious, how many trees are going to be cut down for this? Is there a number?
So for the zoning bylaw amendment, that trees weren't dealt with through so if this zoning bylaw, so at this time it's just a public meeting. If it was to be passed by council, it would have to go through a consent application, and through a consent application, if there was trees that were of interest or that council wanted us to address, we could address that through conditions of a consent application through a tree preservation plan. But at this point, trees haven't been looked at. We can also kind of talk to the agents in making the recommendation report to kind of look into that. But I would suggest the real point to address trees would be at the consent stage through a tree preservation plan.
Thank you, Megan. And Mr. Mayor, I just had a question. I think it would be to the finance department. I just wondering how the tax arrears are going to be handled on this case. Or if is that for?
Well, that question is,
Or Megan's got her hand up. Maybe she wants to answer.
I think that would go to finance, but go ahead, Megan.
So through the chair, through consent applications, we also require that all fees be paid before a consent is finalized.
There you go.
Thank you.
Do you want to add anything to that, Maria? No, that's good. Any further questions, Councillor? Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure if you want us standing or rising or sitting.
You can stay seated tonight, and then eventually, hopefully, we'll be back to full standing. But for tonight, let's stay seated.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question regarding the potential traffic congestion. Will there be a traffic study done once the properties are situated? My concern that by looking at the map is if you put the additional 2 semis on South Street, cars that are turning left have no stop sign there, so they're not slowing down, they're just making a left-hand turn, and then you're going to have driveways exiting very close to the corner. So I'm not sure if any consideration's been given for that type of traffic congestion.
Go ahead, Megan.
Through the chair, that could be something that's requested for us to look into during the recommendation report, but for the public meeting and through the pre-consultations, a traffic study was not required.
Okay, if you could just maybe look at that through the process, only because, like I said, there's only one stop sign right now, and it's Yeah, and that might pose a problem turning left there, but I'll leave that in your hands just to be aware of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you, Megan, for your report. And now I'm going to move on to the applicant presentation, and we have Stephen Rivers, President, Principal Planner of South Coast Consulting, and I'll call on Stephen for his presentation.
Megan is. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if we have Stephen on yet. Megan does up. I don't know if she's heard from him or not.
Okay, Megan, go ahead.
Through the chair, I have had several emails from him tonight. It seems like he was having difficulties getting on. I have sent him the link a few times, but the last I heard was he couldn't get on. We have his presentation in the agenda, I believe.
Do we want to go through that presentation?
We can bring it up.
Yeah, I know it was part of the package. Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to ask Mr. Rivers a couple of questions, but if he's not here, can I readdress him to our planner?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm just waiting to see when we get this up. Absolutely. And hopefully we'll be able to get him on before that time. If not, we can make sure those questions get addressed. Who's going to go through this?
Megan, I'm not sure if you are familiar with the presentation enough to walk us through it.
I can walk you through it. Just 1 second. Text. Sorry, I thought maybe Stephen Rivers just emailed me, but it doesn't look like it. I can walk you through. I think it's very similar to what I just said. But can I share my screen, Matthew?
Yeah, it's
So
up.
I have more control over it? Okay. So I'll just go through the presentation. So again, the presentation is for 2 South Main Street. The proposal from Stephen Rivers indicated that the lands that are to be Lot 1 would be rezoned from a single detached dwelling to a single detached dwelling that requires a smaller lot area and lot frontage. Then the lot area for Lot 2 and Lot 3 to be rezoned for the single detached dwelling to a zoning that would allow for semi-detached dwellings. The rezoning that would be asked for wouldn't require lot area or lot frontage changes in terms of the 2019 zoning bylaw, but would require those changes from the 1997 zoning bylaw. This is an image of the current sort of survey with the proposed lots on it. On this Lot 3, we see this building. That's an existing garage that is proposed to be relocated to Lot 1. The rest of the property is vacant except from foliage and vegetation. As noted by one of the councillors, there are trees on the subject property. It's in the Port Robinson East Special Policy Area, and it's designated for urban living area in our official plan. This is another view of the subject property in relationship to the neighborhood. I would assume it'd be indicated that it is a larger property to the properties in the area. And you can see also that other lots in the area, more the ones on to the lower half, the houses are quite large and take up more of the space on the property. So there are large single detached dwellings in this neighborhood, and it's a residential neighborhood. I'm not really sure about this breakdown. Stephen Rivers probably would have provided a better understanding of it. The functional servicing report was done for the subject property, and it seemed that there was no issues with having the subject lots join in to use the municipal servicing that's already used on the property. An archaeological assessment, stage 1 and stage 2 study was done on the property. So they went out to the property and had done dug up areas, I believe every 5 meters or so of the vegetated land, and no archaeological artifacts were found. So stage 3 study would not be required. However, the regional staff noted that they would like something to come from the municipal or the provincial government that assesses archaeological assessment. Staff believe that this can be dealt with at the consent phase to make things as smooth and streamlined as appropriate, as that's a normal condition that would be put on at a consent phase. Stephen Rivers also did a review of the different policies. In his interpretation that he provided in the planning justification report, he did not find an issue with the proposed development, but that is from his planning justification report. Provincial policy statement is for residential development in underutilized lots in residential settlement sort of areas. I'm just gonna, this is his opinion. He's saying it conforms to the Planning Act, PPS, growth plan, regional official plan, city official plan, permits the proposed residential use. In his opinion, it's good planning. Council and the Committee of Adjustment can be confident that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and severances are consistent with the official plan and provincial and regional policies, and that's from his report in his slides.
Megan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I'm sorry. It's Ken Noonan. I'm listening in. I don't know when an appropriate time to speak is. Let me know when you'd like me to.
I'll let you know. It'll be shortly.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Is there any? Is that the end of the presentation, Megan?
That's the end of the presentation. I'll do on behalf of him. There was questions, and I did skip through some of the slides that were repetitive.
Okay. Is there any questions from council to Megan, or would you like to hold those questions and we'll submit them to Stephen? Hold them and submit them to Stephen. That's fine. You will get those questions to the clerk, and we'll make sure they get addressed. Okay, is that the best way? Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Can I address Megan directly right now?
Yes, you can. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right, so through you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Baerbeck, I noticed I was out at the property on the weekend, and in particular, lot number 2 seems quite close to the neighbor's property, which is, I believe, number 10 South Main Street. And I'm just wondering if the distance of the side yard setbacks, the buffer between the two houses or properties, is proper in terms of bylaw requirements.
I'm just going to share my screen quickly. Can you guys see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So through the chair, so for lot 2 is where my cursor is over the lot you were referring to?
Correct.
Okay. So I do have markings over to better highlight the area, but from my review, for what was being proposed for the side yard setback, the requirement is 1.2 meters, and what was shown on the survey sketches that were provided was over 1.2 meters. So those, in terms of the 1997 zoning bylaw, would not require any sort of changes from rezoning it from an R1A zone for a single detached dwelling to an R2 zone for a semi-detached dwelling. Both of those zones permit a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.2 meters, which lot 2 is showing 1.8 meters. So further area, and then lot 3 was showing 1.55 meters and 1.6 meters. And then with regards to the 2019 zoning bylaw, from the change from a R1A zone to an R2B zone, again, the minimum requirements is 1.2 meters, which they are slightly exceeding by not much, but they are.
Would there be any requirement for the builder to build a fence there? Is that something that's required?
Through the chair, in the past, we have, through consent, done a condition of development agreement, and in a development agreement requested a private fence be added. That is a condition we have put on as a condition for consent. So that I feel like if council had that interest, that maybe could be articulated to the Committee of Adjustment. I feel like the consent conditions is the best place for it instead of something like a holding policy, because that can tie everyone up. So if it's something that was of interest to council to recommend this, again, this isn't a recommendation at this time, this is just public meeting, that can be shared to the Committee of Adjustment, I believe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further question? Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Megan won't be able to answer this question, but I just want to put it on the table so that Mr. Rivers can answer it on behalf of his builder. I just want to get it out there. Will the builder follow the front yard bylaw and make sure that the whole front yard is not turned into a parking lot? Because the diagram's nice, it has the driveways there, but you know, in reality, what happens a couple months after the build, the whole front lawn becomes a parking lot to alleviate parking issues on the street. So could we have some sort of assurances that that's not going to happen throughout this build from the builder? So if that can be asked to Mr. Rivers and we have an answer when the report comes back, that would be most...
That's duly noted. Okay. And as well, Councillor O'Hara, if you have any other questions, then please forward them to the clerk and we'll make sure they get included and answered, okay? Is there anyone else? Seeing that, I'll move on then. Thank you. Now we're going to open the floor for registered speakers. And at this time, is there anyone online who wishes to speak to the application? And I know there is someone. Is there more than one?
Yeah, Mr. Newnham, this would be your opportunity to speak.
Okay. Please provide your name and address for the public record. And you have 10 minutes to speak. At the 9-minute mark, I will provide you with a reminder if you go that long. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Ken Newnham. I live at 7 Connaught Avenue, Port Robinson, which is house number 7 on the diagram on the next street north from the located property. I've spoken to several of my neighbors and we all share the same concerns about what is happening to our neighborhood. This is a very nice little collection of houses. We have very good people here. The things that I'm concerned about is this potential development could result in 8 additional cars, assuming that each household has 2, which is basically the rest of the development here, because everybody has to have a car to get around. And if you add the 2 to the existing house, that makes 10 on that corner. So far, even though we have large driveways and garages, people mostly park their cars in the driveway outside, so it's convenient. So if those 10 cars all got parked outside, I don't think there's enough driveway space there for them all. In fact, the previous owners parked on South Main Street when they were there, so there have been cars there. And the 2 driveways that exit onto South Main definitely are an issue because, as has been mentioned, cars turning down on the coming from into the development are on the side of the road where these cars would be parked. And something you may or may not realize, that that particular intersection is a choke point, if you like the expression, for this entire development. Everything that goes in and out has to go through that intersection. That includes fire trucks, ambulances, garbage disposal, snow plows, you name it, it's gotta come through that corner. Having additional traffic potentially sitting on that corner, I think constitutes definite traffic hazards. The neighborhood itself is all single homes, not semi-detached, not stacked, which is a desirable neighborhood which would like to maintain, even though we have our little problems. And there are a few times when we've had cars parked on the street because for whatever reason, but it's not concentrated in one area, so it's not really a problem. Regarding the property, there was a mention made of trees. There are 2 existing on the property still. There was one large dead one that was removed in the fall. The 2 that are there, one has already had some branches removed amateurishly, and I don't know how much damage it's done to the tree, but it's now sitting with a ladder up attached to it and waiting for somebody to go up and do more damage, I suppose, whatever. So the other point is, as I mentioned, there's proximity between the section, the part 2 of the plan and the house that it backs onto on Connaught, which is the corner neighbor. I provided them with information for this meeting. I don't know if they're going to make it or not, but their response when I asked them if they were concerned is they were very concerned, and they said, what's going to happen is when we look out our back windows, all we're going to see is a brick wall. And it actually affects not only them, but the house next to them to some degree, and even to my house to some degree, as it is a view that we've got used to. It allows us to at least see something other than just a house there and nothing else. And that will go away if this is built. So my concern is basically with the traffic and with the likelihood that the rezoning could change our neighborhood. Potentially, if this one goes through, another one may, and we might find ourselves no longer in the kind of neighborhood that we've all come to love. I've been here 10 years and we just love it here. And everybody that I know all the people on my street. We're a very friendly group, and everybody likes living here, and they like the way things are. We do our improvements, we fix things up, we make it look better, and we feel that that's a detriment to our standard of living. That's about all I have to say. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I look forward to a friendly result. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken, and stay on, because if there's any questions for you, I'll open the floor to council for any questions.
Right, I will. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Ken? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Ken, for your presentation. It's much appreciated, and thanks for coming to council.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, we do have one other person in attendance. They're showing a name of T. Wogan, I believe. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but you do have the ability to unmute yourself if you're here to speak as a registered speaker. And so at this time, is there anyone online who wishes to speak on this application? No one else?
There's no one on. I'll ask one more time. At this time, is there anyone online who wishes to speak to this application? There's no others. Is there? Okay,
You should now have the ability to unmute yourself
and once you
and turn on
do,
your video.
please provide your name and address for the public record, and please note you have 10 minutes to speak. At the 9-minute mark, I will provide you with a reminder of that time.
Okay, basically, what I've seen is the original drawing. The drawings that you have, we don't have.
Excuse me, could you give us your name and address, please?
Oh, it's Tom Wogan, 3 Connaught Avenue, Port Robinson. I live right adjacent to the property.
Okay,
And anyway, I would like to see the drawings that you've shown on your council meeting. The ones we show don't show what buildings they're putting in. And it seems to me they're gonna cram an awful lot of buildings on a small piece of property. And from what I remember, the frontage on all the property should be 60 feet. Well, I'm older, so I go by feet, but 60 feet by 100 was a minimum lot size for any buildings. And if they're gonna put in semi-detached buildings, they're gonna be within 3 feet of my property. Anyway, it just seems like they're putting an awful lot of buildings onto a small piece of property, and it will change the neighborhood.
thank you,
That's all
Tom.
I have to say for now.
Thank you, and I'll open the floor for any questions to Tom. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter, you're saying you haven't seen any of the drawings as was presented here tonight as a resident?
No, the only drawing we have is an original one that was mailed to us, and it just has part 1, 2, 3, and unit 4, and it doesn't show buildings on it at all.
Mr. Mayor, could we maybe, sir, it's obvious then by your statement, you would probably have liked to have received a copy of this or have access to a copy?
Yes, we would.
The report.
The report, Mr. Mayor, can we have something for the residents? If he hasn't received one, I'm sure none of the other residents have an idea of what the actual building is.
Yeah,
I think that's what the point is, right, sir, is that now you see the actual structures, previously you didn't.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
We'll see that T is that the residents through the clerk that you'd be able to get access to the documentation and the photos.
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Councillor Hanley. Is there any further questions for Tom? Seeing none, go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
Just clarity on Councillor Hanley's request regarding notifying the residents. Will everyone that received the original notice for the zoning amendment receive the copy of the report? Or just to the gentleman that asked for it? Just clarity. I just want to make sure that others get it.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, I'll just advise that the maps that were shown tonight or any of the drawings are publicly available through the external website. Both presentations are also posted. We can certainly reach out to any of the email addresses that we have to advise them and send them the link to that information, and anybody who can't access that link will make it available to them.
Thank you for the clarity.
Okay. Councillor O'Hare, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Trenum. So far, all we've seen are plan drawings. Are there any elevation drawings that we can see the full building in?
Mr. Mayor, I'd have to defer to Megan, who is still online there.
Megan, are you still on?
So through the chair, I'm here still. So there's no elevations submitted at this time. Elevation drawings aren't required for the zoning bylaw amendment. Sometimes they might come in, but they were not a requirement. So unfortunately, we have not seen those. What was shared in the notice, with this document here. So it kind of explained the proposed development, how to contact for more information, and then had the part one, part three, and part one showing on it. That was one of the choices to share. I thought it was easier to see the different parts that way. But unfortunately, the other one could have been shared. So I apologize for that. But as the clerk has mentioned, those drawings are in the agenda for tonight, and they can be certainly sent to those who would like them. Elevation drawings haven't been shared, and then all that was shared was the proposed position of the houses, and that's not even a final decision. It's just kind of to show what variances are required.
Okay, does that answer your questions, Councillor O'Hare?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have one more question, Ms. Bierbeck, and that would be, you said that they're not required to submit elevation drawings. Isn't that something that we should be looking at so that it's a very clear right from the start what the development is going to look like?
So through the
Thank you.
chair, for zoning bylaw amendments, that has not been a requirement in the past. It can be looked at. I can talk to the director and future chief planner, manager, planning of what might be required. But zoning bylaw amendments are often broader in nature, so that's why they haven't been required in the past.
Thank you. Okay. That's it. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, Ken, thank you for coming. No, Tom, excuse me. Tom, thank you for coming to council, and thank you for your presentation.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, one thing, there are 3 trees on that lot, just in case you wanted to know.
Okay.
And two of them are walnut trees.
Okay.
And the one that he said has a ladder on it's ready to come down. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Thanks once
You're
again.
welcome.
Thank you for coming to council. Okay. Are there anyone else? Do you have anyone else? Is there at this time, is there anyone online who wishes to speak to this application? And there's no one further? Okay. How are we gonna do this now?
Yeah, we'll put that on the floor just to receive.
Okay. Is that part of the public meeting? Okay. Okay, as part of the public meeting, we have the report and correspondence for information only. DS2 2022 zoning bylaw amendment 2 Main Street. Do you have a mover and a seconder for report DS2 2022? Please note this report is only for information. The report respecting the zoning bylaw amendment will be considered by City Council at another.
At the future meeting, likely on the December 20th
Yeah,
meeting.
at a future meeting. Okay. So I need a mover and a seconder for that. I have Councillor D'Angelo as a mover, and I have a seconder, Councillor DeRose. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, can you vote electronically, please? How are we doing with that? How about Councillor Decker? Yeah? Hmm?
No. Councillors, if in favor, you could raise your hand.
If you couldn't get the vote in,
Yep.
please.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I think at this time, I can just advise that next steps would be to bring back the formal report, which is currently scheduled to come back at the December 20th meeting.
Thank you. I better read that again because my mic wasn't on. This fulfills the requirements of the Planning Act RSO 1990 CP 13 pursuant to Section 34. Council will consider staff's recommendation report at a future meeting. The public meeting portion of this application is now closed. And now we'll move on to Regional Councillor update, and I have Regional Councillor Tim Whalen who's going to give us an update, and welcome, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Ugolini and fellow councilors. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, once again, as your regional councilor. I'd like to start off by congratulating everybody around this floor that was re-elected a short time ago, and I'm sure that over the next 4 years you'll prove the city proud as we normally are. I'd like to also thank the other candidates that put their names forward to run the election. We'd like to thank them because we had 19 running for council, 2 for mayor and 2 for regional councilor. And Thorold appoints their own, or elects their own, and we still have a democracy in Thorold, which is fantastic. Not like some municipalities that appoint their councilors. This is fantastic, and it shows the strength that we have here in Thorold. And going forward, I'm sure the Thorold will stay proud and strong. And then going forward to that, I guess everybody realizes there might be some other mandates coming down from the province, so you'll have your hands full over the next. We have to make sure when this term is done, we're the same as we are today. So keep your backs against the wall, and we'll look forward to some good things from you. I realize you have a heavy agenda tonight, so I'd like to just cover a few projects that we have on the go at the region. Firstly, the South Niagara Waste Pumping Station, which will be located at the corner of Welland River and Chippewa Creek in Niagara Falls. This is a $3 billion project that the region is proposing. It's the largest expenditure that the region has ever had. And the best thing about it is it's going to service the south end of Thorold. From the PLC pumping station down to a new station at the corner of Black Horse, and then eventually running south down to the Chippewa Creek and Welland River intersections. Besides servicing the south end of Thorold and Niagara Falls, the new plant will be just in the vicinity of the new hospital. The region has committed 2 hospitals, the West Lincoln Memorial Hospital and the South Niagara facility. The South Niagara facility, as everybody is aware, will be in the 1 million square foot range, so it's going to be huge. So it's be a great beneficial asset to the south end of Thorold. And to go with that, it's going to concentrate on geriatrics and stroke victims, which will be a great necessity for our city. A big addition to region also is the regional transit. Everybody's aware that as of January the 1st, it comes into fruition. I've been a member of the transit committee now since the summertime, and things are looking good. So the only thing you'll see on January 1st when the new system goes into place is that the bus might have a new sign on it and new uniforms by the drivers. And my term comes to end at the end of December, and everybody realizes on the agenda tonight that there's an opening for a new replacement. If somebody on this council would like to step forward, it'd be great because it interferes with my work, but I will not let Thorold go high and dry. I will step forward if worse comes to worse. And I believe that there are a couple of councilors who might be interested, which would be great. So these are only a few areas that we'll be working on for Thorold. There's many more. Everybody realize that you've got your work cut out for you for the term ahead. with the inflation and the Bill 23 and so on, things like that, you're going to have your hands full. But I'm sure that you'll make Thorold proud, like I say, and do the right thing and make sure that the taxpayers looked after, or even worse, there's no cuts in services, which Thorold has been famous for. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. Keep in mind that my door is always open, and if there's anything I can help you or assist you with at the region, please feel free to reach out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Regional Councillor Whalen. And is there any questions for Councillor Whalen? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just regarding the regional transit, you mentioned the amalgamation is going to take place January 1st. Do you have any details on what's going to happen with the bus passes that are out there? Because currently there's the 4 different transits, and then it's going to be amalgamated to one. So are they going to honor the bus passes that were from St. Catharines, Welland, Niagara Falls, and the region?
Yes, everything like you say that's in fruition right now will just transfer over to the new system. Okay. So the routes and everything will stay the same. The times will stay the same. The only plus is we're adding another about 500,000 hours across the region to service people that are underserviced or non-existent at the present time. So anything you have now will become available and be used going forward as of January the 1st.
Okay, so my question is directly to the bus passes. So if you're holding on to bus passes, you can then use them for any of the services? You don't
understand that will stay in place, and I'll get back to you tomorrow once I find out for sure.
Yeah, if you can give me some clarity. I have an organization that has quite a bit of bus passes in the different communities, and they're not sure if they're going to be honored starting January 1st or if they have to buy new ones.
Yeah, thank you for that question, but I'll get back to you and let you know for sure. But from what I understand is that nothing will change as of January the 1st.
Okay, if you could get me some clarity, that'd be awesome.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter. You mentioned about the expanded hours to service the region, other areas of the region. Can you elaborate on what service we will get in our rural areas?
Yeah,
Allenburg, will there be a route, Port Robinson?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Mr. Councillor Hanley. As of January 1st, the existing routes will just convert over to the regional transit. Till we get all the bugs out, make sure everything is going smoothly, nothing will change. But eventually, the on-demand, as well as hopefully future bus lines will come in, or new routes will come into existence.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. Are we going to offer a service where someone that's in need of like a paratransit, is that going to change at all?
No, that won't. That'll change the same as it is at the current basis.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Whalen. Councillor Whalen, we get a number of questions through council emails from residents regarding policing. As you're aware, that's a regional issue. How should we best direct those questions or have them answered?
We have a community policing officer. I can get you that name for you and send it off to you, but the Mayor Ugolini and myself have access to it also. So if you have any problems, please let us know.
Okay, so forwarding emails from residents to you or the mayor is fine?
I'll get you the contact and I'll email it off to you tomorrow with our new sergeant that's looking after community policing.
Great, thank you. And just one other question, Mr. Mayor, through you to Regional Councillor Whalen. The Highway 20 corridor, for years we've been looking for upgrades to sewer and water out that way. Is there anything you can offer or update us on in terms of where things stand for that corridor?
Yeah, like I explained a little bit earlier about the new waste treatment plant going into South Niagara Falls, that'll leave up space. Like right now, from Peel Street, it goes underneath the canal over the west side. So that'll free up a lot of capacity on this side of the canal. And so it should ease the pain at that side also.
Thank you. But are there any ongoing or plans in place right now that should come on board?
I don't believe so, not along the Highway 20 corridor. Mayor Ugolini, sits on the Public Works. Do you know anything? I don't believe so, but do you know anything other?
I think you're more, are you more concentrating on the west side of the canal?
Yes.
Yeah. We continue to address that issue, and we actually sent a letter from our council. At this time, there is nothing on the dock, but we continue to push for that, Councillor Longo. That's been a long-standing issue, and for many years, it's something we definitely need.
Yeah, thanks for the update.
But to go along with that, the capacity that'll be freed up on the west side of the canal will alleviate the problem and hopefully open up that corridor at the same time.
Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Just one other question. In regards to transit, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Through you, in regards to the transit, are we looking at a savings in the regional or are we looking at an increase in cost?
For the time being,
Do we have
nothing-
any of those type of figures?
Nothing, for the time being, I don't believe anything will change, and it all depends on the capacity and the expanding of the services when going forward.
So if we're hoping that ridership increases, costs shouldn't go up, then is that the objective of it?
What people are paying to use it shouldn't, no.
Okay, thank you. Be great to see an update probably in the first quarter of 2023 as to where we stand.
Yeah, to go along with that, Councillor Hanley, like I said, the on-demand, I don't know whether you were how that works. Like you'll phone one of the smaller buses, it'll show up at your driveway as opposed to have to wait on a corner for a bus. So, especially the ones that we haven't got an idea of what might be demanded. So it'll be a little bit better access to the bus, at least from your driveway, not just paratransit, everyone. Yeah.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to our regional councillor, Whalen. This is just, we all went through an election here. One of the biggest complaints when I was out talking to individuals, garbage. I know right now we only have garbage pickup every 2 weeks, but it does cause some problems in our community with, different kind of animals, skunks, rats, raccoons, all that fun stuff. And then there's also issues where people are just piling up garbage in front of their house and just leaving it there for 2 weeks and then moving it from the front of the house out to the yard, to the end of the yard. Is the garbage contract coming up for renewal during this term? And is that something that council can look at to reestablish the pickup every week in terms of garbage?
Yeah, yes, I believe it's, 3 years left on our contract?
At least. At least.
So, but like I say, in the interim, we have a bylaw that can address it. We have the regional bylaw as well as city bylaw. But don't let it go. If you get it.
Well, you can only make so many phone calls before you get upset, so.
Let me know if the regional aspect, Councillor DeAngelo, we'd be more happy to push the issue and have regional bylaw as well as garbage go out and address the problem.
Yeah, because we also out there campaigning, there's garbage being strewed or thrown in the rural parts of our community that are causing major problems. And again, is that something that the regional government, waste management will go out and pick that up, or is that something that is tagged to the city to pick up?
Unfortunately, if it's on city property, it'd be city capacity, otherwise it would be region, yes.
No, but the
Well,
city, the region looks after a lot of the illegal dumping concerns, and in fact, if it's reported, they'll go out and they actually, one thing they do is they go through the garbage to see if there's any evidence of, where they could go and find out where this garbage came from. Regarding the people storing garbage at their house, there's certain things that fall. If it's out on the curb, it's a regional issue, and they have their own bylaw that deals with that. If it's on the city part of the property, that falls under our responsibility and Clean Yards bylaw. And there are some things we can look at as a municipality as far as how people store garbage on their property. As far as closed-top containers or different things that this council can look at moving forward. It's just some of the issues that need addressing are our issues at the city level, and some are at the regional level.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I agree with you. We need to address that because there is a lot of bylaw issues regarding garbage, both from a regional standpoint at the end of the driveway and also on properties. We have to be more diligent and respond to the complaints of our residents in a quicker, much faster pace than we are right now. It was one of the topics that was very highly spoken to me throughout the election. So definitely we need to move on that. You probably don't have the answer here, Councillor Whalen, but I'm just going to leave it with you. Next time you come, you could just update us. One of the reasons they went to the one garbage bag or the garbage pickup every 2 weeks was the hope to increase diversion rate and reduce garbage. Can you bring us back some numbers to see if that actually has happened in terms of increasing recycling, increasing diversion to compost, and reduction into actual waste? So if you could look into that and bring something back, I would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, I know the diversion rate has gone up immensely, but I'll get the exact figures for you in the report.
I would like to see a comparison if this one or a garbage pickup every 2 weeks is actually making any difference, because that was one of the selling features. I don't think there's much of a cost savings because the trucks are going around. Like I have 3 garbage trucks coming by every week on my street, either to turn around and go somewhere. So the trucks are out there picking up stuff. But I'd like to see if there's any empirical numbers that substantiate
Yeah, I'll get the updated conversion rate before I can get back to you.
Those numbers are available. This region has them. They might actually be on their website, but we'll get them. But the numbers are up significantly. Significantly. Okay. Is there any further questions?
I do,
Go
Mr.
ahead,
Mayor.
Councillor Decker. Go ahead, Councillor Decker.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Tim, for your presentation, and it's great news about the hospitals. I'm just wondering what the region is doing. I'm not sure if you're aware that, you know, this issue with the lack of doctors coming to the area. Now we have another walking clinic in St. Catharines, Glenridge, that's closing December the 23rd because they're unable to get doctors to come and work at the clinic. Is the region looking into this, or is there, you know, something we're doing to try to, you know, keep these clinics open and get some doctors in our area? It's a pretty touchy subject. I know that, you know, I've had a lot of concerns from people still not being able to find doctors in this area, but I was quite upset to hear that the Glenridge Walk-in Clinic was closing its doors due to lack of doctors.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor Decker. Just by chance, I set up public health, so I'll get the statistics for you and see what the game plan is when we get our first meeting in January. And once again, he keeps saying this, I'll get back to you, but I definitely will get you an exact figure of what's happening. And back in the day, we had a doctor recruitment team here at the city also. I don't know whether that's a plan again or just what the city has to, whether there's anything concerned also.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to have to look into that. It's just really sad when you hear that, you know, our walk-in clinics are also closing due to lack of doctors. And, you know, it's really disconcerting when you don't have anywhere to turn or to go to, you know, when you're sick or you don't have a doctor. So
yeah, most definitely is a concern. And I'd say thankfully we have the clinic on Front Street. I believe they have 8 doctors there now, which is fantastic. But as soon as they come in, they fill up pretty quick. So.
Yeah, unfortunately they don't take walk-ins. So yeah, if you can come back with something, that would be great. Thank you.
Will do.
You can also get the information on the doctor recruitment program at the region, Councillor.
Yes, we'll definitely get back on that one.
Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Durrell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to continue on Councillor Decker's question, because I do have a notice of motion later in regard to this. And I put a call into the region today, but I didn't get a call back. Councillor Whalen, how many doctor recruiters are there? I thought there was 3 or 6 at the region.
Yeah, I don't have the exact number. I know they're...
Okay, they're going to get back to me, but, okay. And this just has to do with my notice of motion later. But thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you, Councillor Whalen, for coming to council with the update, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to finish this off by wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy and safe and prosperous and super healthy 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to move on to statement by councillors. Councillor Hanley's withdrawn his statement. I got Councillor DeRose up first regarding speeding enforcement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a statement respecting a request of the Mayor and Regional Councillor Whalen to address the need for increased policing when they're at the region, specifically speeding enforcement through Niagara Region's budget processes with Niagara Regional Police. As everybody's stated before, some of the number 1 and 2 concerns, garbage and you know, bylaw issues, but also speed enforcement. I was at a public hearing meeting last Thursday night here, and it was actually people from my neighborhood, and they don't want speed bumps. They want policing. They put a speed bump in front of my house, which I started the process before I became a councillor, and it does nothing to help the dangerous speeders. A couple weeks ago, my family and I were coming home from Walmart on a Friday night, and 2 cars directly going past my house over the speed bump were racing side by side. 2 kit cars almost hit us head on. So this is an example of what's going on specifically out in the St. John area. I'm sure it's happening all around Thorold. I was talking to Councillor D'Angelo about it, and he gave me some good insight, but I don't know. If we can just keep pushing for this, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and you guys are at the region, you and Councillor Whalen, so I'd appreciate any influence you guys have over this. And I'm on the, hopefully I'll be on it again, the Road Safety Committee with Paul Webb, and I'll continue to get in his ear about it, but that's the statement I wanted to make.
Thank you, Councillor. And your second one is regarding previously requested reports.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, through you. There's several things over 10 months ago I've asked. I'm sure there's councillors that have other statements or reports they've requested. For example, there's a couple that I brought up that I know it takes time. I know our planning department has been limited due to the manpower, but or the people power, sorry. But the bedroom limit was one of them. I know Ottawa now has a bylaw where new houses have 4 bedrooms, and if they can go up to 8, but the developer has to approach the city and just make it known that they're going to put more bedrooms in. There's some houses in Thorold right now in residential areas that were 3-bedroom homes that now have 14 bedrooms, and I have proof of it. And I've sent bylaw there. It's a fire hazard. It's not fair to the neighbors, and so if we can somehow, that's an example of the report. So I actually, sorry, Matthew, I'm not supposed to talk about.
No, you can just tell us that you want those reports
another
that
one
you
was,
request.
Right, so just if we can get the reports, before we start adding on more reports this term, if we can just get some of those reports cleared up in the next quarter or next 3-4 months, it'd be great. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeRose. Okay. Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo. We're not to debate these, but if you have a quick comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the, I know we're still trying to understand these rules for statements, but I have a couple suggestions I wanted to offer regarding traffic enforcement, if I can throw those out right now. It's just a starting measure. One is on the Niagara Regional Police website, there's a submit a traffic complaint, and you can do it online. There's a phone number. I'm just wondering if we could put that on our city webpage, nice high profile, because it goes to the comment that Councillor DeRose said. The more complaints or issues that they're aware of, the greater chance of enforcement. So if only one person brings it up, and then, because you have to remember, the Niagara Regional Police service the whole Niagara region. So if there's other Geneva Street or someplace in Sugarloaf, if there's a lot of complaints out there, compared to what the complaints are here in the city of Thorold on specific roads, they're going to put resources to where they're getting more complaints. So if we can get that so that councillors can submit complaints, residents can submit complaints, this puts it moves it up the ladder in terms of getting some
we can get that
look
information.
at. So I have a sheet here. Also, I was going to say, if anyone's listening, there's also what's called the traffic hotline for NRPS. It's 905-688-4111, and it's extension 1025555. And again, anytime residents have concerns, because one of the things that come up is traffic enforcement, but it also helps if you tell the time of when the enforcement needs to really happen. So there's different times of roads are busier and they have different congestions, there's different issues. That helps the NRP police understand the traffic situation a little better. So that's very, very helpful. So if we could put that on our website, that would be great. And the other thing, Mr. Mayor, that would be helpful, since I sit on the police board, if you, on behalf of council, could send a letter to the Niagara Regional Police Service Board asking for additional traffic enforcement on some of the roads here in Thorold, I will make sure that's brought up at the Police Services Board meeting to give it a little bit more traction. So if you can do that.
The other thing we can look to do is to get them, like they came last year, to get them to come to council and make a presentation and answer questions, which really helped last time they came. It was probably a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great if you want to do that. There's some other steps I'd like to move forward with, but I'll bring those forward in a notice to motion. Right now, I'm just trying to give
a little. We can do that, but that's where they should come. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll move forward.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Councillor DeAngelo for that good advice. I know he's on the police board, and I did put a call into him. That's great advice. The other thing is, Mr. Merritt, they did come and do a presentation, and that was wonderful, just to get a nice rapport going with them. But I don't see anything that was substantially or concretely done visually, you know what I'm saying? I haven't noticed any more police presence. I'm still getting the same complaints. So they did come and present, but I don't know what it resolved, but it was a nice presentation. But thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So now we're going to move forward to consent reports. We have consent reports 14.1 to 14.4 and 14.6 to 14.12. I need a mover and a seconder first, and then I'll ask if anyone wants to pull any reports. I got a mover, Councillor Sentence, and I need a seconder. Councillor O'Hare. So we have 14.1 to 14.4 and 14.6 to 14.12. Does anyone want to pull any reports? Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull 14.7, the dog park, leash-free dog park report.
Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull 14.1, the write-offs.
Yeah. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Mr. Mayor, I have 14.2, the tracking statements to September 30th. I have 14.8, termination of lease agreement with the Seaway. And then also 14.10, Thorold City Council schedule of regular meetings.
Okay. So we got 14.1, 14.2. I've got 14.7, 14.8, and 14.10. You got those? Go ahead, Councillor Longbow.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull 14.4, Towpath Estates, plan of subdivision.
Okay. I just want to make sure I've captured all these.
1, 2, 4, 7.
1, 2, 4,
7, 8,
7,
10.
8, and 10. Okay. So I had a mover, Councillor Sentence, seconded Councillor O'Hare, and so we'll do 14.3, 14.6, 14.9, 14.11, and 14.12. No, you pulled 14.7. 14.3, 14.6, 14.9, 14.11, and 14.12. Okay?
I had 14.2 on there, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, we got 14.2. Like 14, we're going to vote now on 14.3, 14.6, 14.9, 14.11, and 14.12. The other ones have all been pulled, okay? Okay. And I had a mover, Councillor Sentence, and a seconder, Councillor Hare. All those in favor, please vote electronically. Oh, use your hands and we can get... Opposed, that's carried. Okay, so now we'll start going through the ones that are pulled. And I got 14.1 up first. And who pulled 14.1? Go ahead, Councillor Doral.
For you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have a problem with the write-offs. The only question I have, I'm looking at Appendix 1, number 033, and it's 1665 Beaver Dams. The fire happened years ago. The house is gutted. They're having a major rodent issue in the area. I know when my house burned down, we had to get it fenced in, filled in, and all this other stuff. I'm just wondering, can't the city order them to, or can't the city tear down that house? Because it's gutted and there's just having major rodent problems. So can anybody in staff tell me the protocol or what we can do?
Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor DeRose. Certainly, if you want to share that address with me, maybe send me an email or something, we can definitely send bylaw out, and the bylaw enforcement staff could definitely address it.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Did you want to comment on that, Councillor Hanley?
I just, no, are we have passed all the consent reports that had not been pulled?
That's correct.
That's what we're discussing right now?
We're doing the ones that we pulled now. So this is the first one, 14.1.
Okay. I didn't know or hear. Did 14.9 get pulled by any chance?
No, it didn't, and it's been passed.
I missed that. Sorry. Because the Friday meeting thing. Okay, I'll have to bring a reconsideration. Well, now we have to get statement by councillors in by Friday at 12 noon. So for me, I work out of town till Thursday night. I don't get my agenda until Thursday. Fridays I gotta do my business, my business, whatever, and that stuff. Usually, for the last 20 years, I can honestly tell you, I read usually my documentations on Saturday and Sunday. Then I get my questions on Monday. 12 noon Friday don't work for me. That's the only thing
Okay,
that
we'll
I
come
missed
back
on
to
that.
Councillor.
If we
We'll
could,
come back to that, okay?
please. Sorry about that.
Anyone else with 14.1? Okay, no one else. I had a move. I'm going to use the same mover for all these. I had a mover, Councillor Sutton, second, Councillor Hare. 14.1, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So now we're going to 14.2. Tracking statements to September 30th. Who pulled that one? Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
That was me, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. It's on Appendix 2, and it's under the engineering roads. There's a couple categories here. Rehabilitation roads, resurfacing urban roads, and resurfacing rural roads. The budget was $650,000 for urban roads and $200,000 for rural roads. But on the tracking statement as of September 30th, there was no expenditures. Were any roads paved in Thorold last year, or the expenditure hasn't been paid for yet? Could I get some clarity on that, if I'm reading this correctly?
I'll ask our manager engineering, Sean Dunsmore, to shed some light on that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we did pave some roads, and we did some both rural and urban roads. We're just waiting for the contractor to send us a bill so that we can pay them.
Okay, that answered my question. It's just a timing issue.
No,
I thought it was odd at the end of September but the work might have been done late summer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I had a mover again, Councillor Sentence, and a seconder, Councillor O'Hare. All those in favor of 14.2. Opposed? That is carried. Okay, now we're going to move on to 14.4 was pulled. That's Towpath Estates subdivision and subdivision agreement. I think Councillor Longo, you too pulled that one?
Yes, I did, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you to the appropriate staff member. I was just reading over this plan of subdivision for Towpath Estates. In the past, we've talked about parking and parking restrictions to one side of the street. I don't see anything in the plan of subdivision. Should it be in there, and should it be in the agreement?
I'll ask our Jason Simpson, our director of, who's going to do that one? Okay, I'm going to have Sean again. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the parking restrictions have been identified. They're on one of the supplementary drawings, and they will certainly be signed in accordance with our standard policies, and that is prior to occupancy of any of the houses.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, I did look through it. There was quite a bit of verbiage there. I must have missed it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you good with that? Any further questions on that one? Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo, and then Councillor O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a bit of clarity on that. I know when when subdivisions are being built, there's a bit of time lag from when some of the houses get built at one side of the street to the whole street's being finished. In terms of signage, will the signage go up, at least some preliminary signage, so they're aware? I know when you're building, there's going to be trucks and everything all over the place. But to me, one of the key components, especially when people start moving into houses, is that they're fully aware that no parking is up there from day one. Because if you take a year or two to put it up, then all of a sudden it disestablishes the parking, and then people will then get upset, well, that wasn't there when I moved in. And the other thing along that line is that something that can be put into the purchase agreements when these lots are being sold to from the developer to these people that are now purchasing these homes to move in, so they're fully aware of it in advance? Again, to reduce the bit of more communication, so it reduces the amount of people then coming back later, because it then becomes a city problem, and then they have to deal with it. So any proactive work that we can do in advance would be very helpful to establish the parking situation. If I could maybe get some comment on that?
Go ahead, Sean.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we agree 100%. It becomes a real pain for us. So what we've done in the last probably 7 or 8 years is we've made it so that the builders are supposed to identify that to all the purchasers before they purchase where all the signs are gonna be. On top of that, we've put the signage as a primary service. So there's no buildings that can be built, no building permits can be issued until after the primary services are all accepted, which includes the no parking sign. So it has to be up before the first building permit is issued.
That's great news. I like to hear that because any proactivity reduces problems of the.
Thank you. I had Councillor O'Hare, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. I'm just curious about the conditions, number 69 to 72 and 74 to 75. And just very briefly, it's the restoration plan, the ecological monitoring plan, the fencing details, the rear lot fencing, and so on. I'm just wondering, they are in the agreement, but are these, is there a process in place to monitor and make sure that not only are these done, but they're kept up to the standards that expected in the agreement?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the process of getting them installed is certainly in the agreement. It's certainly part of the requirement for the agreement. In terms of maintaining it long-term, that will be something that will fall upon our bylaw enforcement officers.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, I noticed that there was cash in lieu of parkland. Is that something non-negotiable at this stage? Is that something that's already been decided upon?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the reason it was decided in this specific case is because the subdivision is actually relatively small, and there would be very little space for a public park in that area. At the same time, there's a park right across Hansler. No, it's not Hansler. Right across the street in the Hansler Heights subdivision that would service these people as well.
I'm not sure if that's accessible. I think there's a big, large fence all around there right now.
Yeah, we're in the process of actually constructing it, I believe.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I got a mover, Councillor Sentence, seconder, Councillor O'Hare on 14.4. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Now we're going on to 14.7, leash-free dog park land donation update. And I believe, Councillor Sentence, you had a question regarding.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, it's a project that we've been excited about. I'm excited about. I see the update. I guess my basic question is, when do you think we can break ground on this, or when do you think this is going to happen? Construction. I know it's winter, but are we looking spring?
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Jeff.
The donation, the actual transfer of land, what needs to take place.
Okay.
And hopefully that'll take place in a couple of weeks, at least before the end of the year. We have some money that was approved in the 2022 budget, but we're asking for some additional funding in 2023 just to complete the paving and the fencing and signage.
Okay.
I hope to have a groundbreaking in the spring of this year and go through the process of officially naming the park.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor DeRosa, regarding the same item, correct?
Right. Yes. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the Director of Operations. Do we have an idea yet of the cost of liability insurance for the park? Like, have we looked into that, or is something we're going to do later? As far as the city's liability.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, the cost of insurance?
Yeah, the liability insurance that'll be needed for the to operate the park.
I think the short answer is not specifically, but I assume it will be covered under our insurance plan. If there's some additional coverage that needs to take place, we can investigate that further.
Yeah, because I have no idea myself, but I was just curious.
I'm not certain.
Okay. Okay. So is there any way we can find that out in the future, or do I have to ask for notice and motion, or?
Yes, I think on our agenda tonight is a new insurance. Sorry, maybe it's the next meeting. We'll be dealing with the award of our insurance, so we can follow up with the new insurer then.
So our insurance will just be an umbrella over that, you're saying?
Yeah, there will be some, I imagine, some rules and those types of things that need to be posted, but I will certainly make council fully aware of any additional risk beyond the normal risk that's associated with any other park.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looking at the site for the dog park, that's going to be located on Beaver Dams Road. The only thing, and I was waiting for Google Maps to pull it up here, just wanted to confirm something, but if I could just send this to staff, I don't need an answer right now, but with the entrance of that park being on Beaver Dams Road, there might be an issue with speed on that road, so I don't know if they're going to look at the speed on the road. I believe it's 60 right now, if I'm not.
No.
Is it 80?
What it is, that whole road was 80, and Councillor Whalen and I brought it to the region. We got it reduced, but it's only reduced to DQ Road. But it's a good point you bring up. We could look at getting it reduced further past the dog park.
I think that's critical that we actually investigate that, because you got the bend, and if the cars are moving at a good pace and people are coming out of the parking lot, and heaven forbid.
No, it's a good point, and it's something that we can address between Public Works and the region. I'm sure that we can address that.
Okay, and then also parking on, obviously no parking on that road because of the narrowness. So yeah, if I could leave those with our director, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else regarding that? Okay, so again, I had Councillor Sentence as a mover, Councillor O'Hare as a seconder, and that's regarding 14.7. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Now we're on to 14.8 PWCS. That's 114-2022. Termination of lease agreement with St. Lawrence Seaway, and I think Councillor D'Angelo, did you raise that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I didn't really have an opportunity. I tried to find out the actual location of that piece of land. So I wasn't sure what it's being used for right now. I know that the lease has expired, but there's a renewal option. And then reading in the report, there's an opportunity that looks like they're going to dispose of it in the future. Again, not knowing exactly where it was, I'm not sure how it fits into that corridor as a possible recreation. I don't know if it's adjacent to the water for fishing purposes. So
I'll let Jeff. Do you want to comment on that? I think.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, I agree with Councillor D'Angelo that the map isn't really that descriptive. If you look on the attachment, I think it's one of the schedules at the back of the report. In the lease agreement 66-1476, towards the end, it shows the approximate description of the land. It basically follows the floodplain of Shriners Creek in that area. It doesn't encompass that entire piece, but there's a rough description there. I could provide, suppose, through our GIS technician, provide a better description of that land. However, the thought is that if we were serious, we might have done something with that land. If we are serious about it, then we have the opportunity to acquire it if that's the council's desire.
I know I can't do this, so I'm going to just keep speaking, but hopefully someone can refer this. I think we should just investigate it a little bit more, see if it's still worth leasing for another year, and do some investigation. I don't know how it fits in our recreation corridor, so I hate to give up that and then it disappear, because I know we've bought land on the west side of the canal where the trail is. We've purchased some parcels there where the Seaway was selling that off. I don't know how this exactly fits in, so maybe some more descriptive pictures and how it fits in.
I've got Councillor Longo. Councillor Longo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to refer this back to staff for more detailed information.
Okay, we got a referral. There's no debate on a referral. Can I get a seconder for that? I got Councillor Hanley. So I had a mover, Councillor Longo, a seconder, Councillor Hanley, that this gets referred back to staff for more details. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. 14.9, how do we run? No, but Councillor Hanley had an issue with 14.9 because he would have pulled it, but he missed it. And that's regarding the statement by Councillor deadline.
Yeah, the confusion was that report number 9 has council meetings also down as being the first and third Tuesday of the month, and then consent report number 10 changes that to every 3 weeks.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to put that back on the floor, we would be able to hear potential amendments to that. The other option would just be we bring more information in a reconsideration at the next meeting. Bring that back. We can bring that back as a reasonable change to the next meeting.
Yeah, if you would please, because I would have pulled it mistakenly.
No, that's a good
comment. It does me no
justice. Leave it with the
justice.
clerk, and then we'll bring it back next meeting, Councillor. Okay,
Thank you.
Go ahead. Did you want to comment on that?
Well, I just think, looking at that report quickly, that there were some changes made, but it might need an overhaul, so I don't know if we want to schedule it to come back at, I know at a further date so we can review the whole bylaw. I think from my interpretation, the clerk was just doing some housekeeping in there.
That's correct.
So if maybe we could reschedule that and just leave that point as is for now, but I'll leave it in your hands to determine how you want to handle it.
Yeah, through the mayor, we'll look into it and come back with a memo for the next meeting just to advise on process moving forward and plans on reviewing the bylaw in further detail over this term.
Okay, so that's staff direction, okay. Now we're going on to 1410. Thorough council meeting schedule of regular meetings. Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Mr. Mayor, I was just looking at the schedule and I want Councillor O'Hare for giving me a colored copy because I don't have a colored printer, so I would look all the same to me. I would just see boxes blacked out. Just want to highlight a couple items that might be looked at for some changes here. In October, we have a couple meetings. One lands on October 31st, which is Halloween. So I'm not sure if we want to be having a council meeting on Halloween, considering there's members of council that have small children and, you know, so I think that should be looked at. And then going back to Councillor Hanley's point, where if we're going to still have an opportunity to put some comments in by Monday, October 10th follows a Monday holiday. So I don't know if you want to move that one. We have moved them in other instances where there's holidays. They don't land on the Tuesday following a Monday holiday. So you may want to look at 10 and 31 and do some realignment with those two particular days.
Okay, so if I leave that with the clerk, you can work on that October, but everybody's good with the concept of what the clerk has presented. That's the
So, yep, through you, Mr. Mayor, we could handle it two ways. If you'd like to move an amendment to it right now to change those two dates, or if you'd like, as we move through the calendar, we can just make sure we address those before October. We can certainly move dates at any point in the calendar as well.
Well, it might, through you, Mr. Mayor, if I could just comment, it might be better to move them now so that when we are setting our schedules, makes it easier for everybody. The other one too, I was looking at August again. Traditionally, August was a month where there was either 0 or 1 meetings. It was sort of because they had the AMO conference. There was a bunch of other stuff going on. In August, there seems to be 2 meetings. So I don't know if there could be some rescheduling there. Again, I just trying to look at it from a holistic point of view. But if that's the case in August, so be it. But the October ones to me are a little bit more pressing.
Okay. Let me look here. I'm just going to call it up myself here. No, I got it here. It's just, I just want to look at this.
If you
there it is.
If you'd like a suggestion, just because August there's the AMO conference, if you move the August 29th meeting to say September 12th, and then you would eliminate the 19th and move the 10th to the 3rd and the 31st to the 24th. I don't know if that's something that would be agreeable to. I'm looking at our CAO too because I know staff has to get reports in at certain times, so his input on this would be greatly appreciated. But just a suggestion to sort of help us plan our
So if we move October to the 3rd and 24th, okay, to get away from those other 2 dates, and then we move the one in September to the 12th. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and then eliminate the 29th.
Eliminate the 29th, and if we need, the thing to remember here is, and we do this at the region we meet once a month, and then we call special meetings as required. So that ability to call special meetings is still going to be here, and the beauty of that is we'll deal with an important issue, and we deal with that issue. The other thing which the clerk mentioned, if we're going to put in an extra meeting, we're going to try and make sure it's on a Tuesday so that we're consistent that Tuesdays are meeting night. The same thing when there's going to be meetings added in late January, February for budget. Just so you're aware, those council meetings are separate from when we start our budget procedure. So there will be meetings added in that time period. Okay. At once our Maria and her group get together, and we'll put together some dates there. Okay? So are we good with those changes? Are you good with those changes?
Yep, so just to confirm, then we would be removing the meeting on August 29th. The September 19th meeting would move to September 12th. October 10th would become October 3rd, and October 31st would become October 24th.
Yeah, I think that would be a great enhancement to the schedule.
Is everybody good with that? Is there anyone that has a problem with that? If we have to decide that we have to move something else as we go through the year, we have that capability as long as we do it in advance so the public's aware, you know. Okay, those changes have been made. So give me so you're going to move this, Councillor D'Angela, and I got a seconder, Councillor Sentence. Those changes have been duly noted. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, now we're on to, that's it? Am I right? Okay. Now we're on to discussion reports. PWCS 112-2022, Interim Operating Plan Update, Cemetery Administration Office. Give me a mover and a seconder before I put this on the floor, and I'll get our director. I got a mover, Councillor Sentence, and a seconder, Councillor Decker. Okay, and now I'll ask our Director of Public Works. Yeah, no problem. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is one, that the revised interim operating plan as outlined in report PWCS 112-2022 be approved. 2, that the addition of 1 full-time equivalent staff position be approved to support the prescribed increased level of service. 3, that the funding for the trailer lease, $60,000, and new staff position, $78,000, be approved in principle and be considered as part of the 2023 operating budget. 4, that funding for the engineering design of the Lakeview Cemetery Administration Building, $50,000, be reallocated from the unspent portion of the mausoleum design finalization and tender project approved in the 2022 capital budget. And 5, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the necessary contracts.
Okay, and now we'll open the floor up, and I got Councillor Decker first. Go ahead, Councillor Decker.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the appropriate staff. The existing building that is there at the cemetery, I know that we've had some issues with asbestos and mold. Is there not a way for us to get this cleaned up and do some modifications to that building so that it can accommodate you know, staff members in there, receptionist, and office where you meet with, you know, grieving families and stuff? And I know that, you know, staff have been, you know, deployed from the cemetery to the arena. Can we not just bring some staff back to the cemetery? I mean, it's a need, not a want, so that there are people available there in the interim. And if we were to fix the existing building, like, how fast could it be done?
Okay, and who wants to handle that, Jeff or Sean?
I'll speak to it.
Okay, go ahead.
And Mr. Mayor, so That is recommendation number 4. We need to spend some money to do the design and to scope out the extent of the asbestos and the mold removal, some repairs to the foundation. And if funding is approved in the capital budget for 2023, we could move quickly. The cost of the renovation or the time to complete the renovation, it will probably take the better part of this year, or sorry, next year to complete. Because there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that building.
So you're saying because of the amount of work or the time period that this trailer situation would need to be implemented? Am I correct when I say that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we need to start quickly to do the design work, and that's why we're recommending the reallocation now to start that work. If we can have those numbers ready to go before the budget is approved, that will be helpful. We're looking at about 850,000 or maybe slightly more to do a proper renovation to create 2 offices, proper public washrooms and meeting space in that building. And in the meantime, if it's council's wish to input or implement the level of service, then we'll have to rent a trailer for the better part of that construction period. We're looking at about a year.
Thank you. Do you have any further questions, Councillor Decker?
No, so is the trailer operational now, and has any staff been redeployed out to the cemetery? I'm just asking because
No, those are good
I've had
questions.
concerns, and I was out there myself and no one was there. So I think it's really important that I'm going to support whatever we can to get this stuff done. I'm just wondering, are we going to have people out there, office people, cemetery people, so that if people are looking to get in touch with somebody, that there is somebody there out there for them? And what's the time frame for that? Like, how long will it take before we can have staff out there?
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, at the moment there is a trailer that is out there. It's not connected to hydro. It's not suitable for housing staff or storing valuable records. We need to do something a little better than that, and that's why the recommendation is to include a proper trailer that can contain public washrooms, contain 2 offices. And the reason why staff has not been deployed out there is there's just not staff available at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. I had Councillor DeRose. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I have a hard time understanding how, and so is there documentation that all this stuff was found, asbestos? I know there's been black mold when someone peeled off some wallpaper, but do we have professionals come in and assess? Do we have an actual assessment of the building? Professional assessment?
Mr. Mayor, yes, and that was included in the report was presented back to council in February of this year.
I'm just having a hard time with 50,000 for a design to clean up a building and 850,000. Like, where are these numbers coming from? Did a construction company give us an estimate for 850,000?
Yeah, we have, through you, Mr. Mayor, we have construction cost estimates. They're very high level. We might be able to reduce the cost. We don't know until we complete the design phase.
And who assessed the condition of the cemetery? You said it was in a report, obviously from last February. Who's the company that assessed it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can't remember the name of the firm. It might be Ontario Environmental.
That's all right. I just find these numbers, on behalf of taxpayers and myself being a taxpayer, these numbers to me don't make sense. It's just hard to fathom. The other thing I wanted to bring up, I'm not in agreement with hiring another staff. I spoke to a funeral home that deals with Lakeview specifically today, and they said burials are down 50% since 2005 to 2021. They gave me numbers, and due to the fact that a lot of people are getting cremated and families are just taking the ashes home. So I don't understand. We do need something there. Council directed on August 2nd to have a trailer there. but obviously it's not operational because the electricity wasn't hooked up, and now you're saying in the report that it wasn't functional for someone to be in there? Because I don't think you'd have to put all the records in there at this point. I think the point is to have a face there. So can we not use the trailer we have there now after it gets hooked up with electricity? Because I was getting texts from people and calls and saying that trailer is not being used after 3 months. So I'm just wondering, was it just because of the electricity, or is it just not compatible?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I think the answer is yes to both of those questions. In this weather, you need to have proper heating and
yeah. So you need a proper trailer. But why did we get that trailer then from the get-go? Why did we go with a crappy trailer and not get a half-decent one?
Well, through Mr. Mayor, with all due respect to council's directive that night, and I wasn't in attendance that evening, there was no direction with respect to additional costs associated with doing such. And since that time, we haven't had an opportunity to get back to council with an update because of the election, but there are issues that have been raised by other employees who are required to work alone, particularly in the arena where we've made adjustments. And our history and our experience has been that working alone in remote locations can be dangerous sometimes. We have, and Councillor DeRose, you may recall an issue that we had with one resident who disputed some of the records that the city had, where we had to engage in a site meeting, where police were involved in the conversation. So if we are going to have a trailer that has all the amenities we need to perform the services of the cemetery, it needs to be properly staffed.
Okay, I will support a trailer, but I really want to support getting that building fixed up. But I think we can get it done for less than. I don't understand why we need a design to clean up the building. That's what I don't get. 50,000 for a design? Like, there's nothing. I really don't get that. But anyway, I will support a temporary trailer, but we need to get that building fixed. It's mostly made of block, so I don't understand. Asbestos doesn't really affect you unless you disturb it. So I don't understand where all this is coming from. I think it was on the agenda to get away from having office staff there and moving them to the arena for whatever reason. But you know, I will not support an additional staff till we have a staff overview. And just one last question to the Director of Operations. Did you write this report?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Stettins, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. So just a couple, through you to Jeff, if I could, just a couple clarifications. So we're not okaying the 850,000 today. We are just looking at the other amounts to look into getting this building done. Is that correct?
That's correct, through you, Mr. Mayor. We're just looking to complete the design to determine whether the 850 is the right number to carry forward in the budget.
Okay, and this will be in the 2023, part of the 2023 operating budget. I saw that in there. The new staff position that we get, would the intention be for this new staff person to be the new person at the building when it's fixed? Would that be our intention? We're hiring somebody to stay out there in the trailer and stay on?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. There will be two cemetery administrators.
Okay.
Who will be able to perform all the functions.
Okay, I know personally I have said this. It's a need, not a want. And if it takes two people out there, I've said it to the CAO, if it's a casual or whatever, that we need this. It is a big complaint that we get from people. And at the end of the day, when we finalize everything, I fully expect that we should have that building with washrooms, with proper staffing. So again, I've said a million times, when people come out and at the worst time of their lives, they have someone there. If something is disturbed at their gravesite, someone is there. So I will support this because we have all got calls about this, and we've all talked about having somebody out there. So thank you.
Councillor Sentence, is there any, Councillor O'Hare and then Councillor Hanley?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Holman, a couple of quick questions. Number one, you talked about it briefly, the $60,000 per year trailer. Will it be four-seasonal trailer? Will it be able to handle the winter as well as the summer conditions?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Okay, that's great.
$60,000 a year to lease it.
Yes. And the second question is, in your analysis, you listed a strategy to net zero business model. I'm just wondering if you have a forecast. I know that's looking much further down the line, but do you have any idea what your goal might be in that sort of scenario, a time frame?
Through Mr. Mayor, the service delivery review talked about a 5-year window to try and get to the point of net zero. Obviously, it involves a number of decisions. We have to have something to sell in order to generate revenue, so we have to make some expenditures, and that capital investment will be critical in determining the pace at which we can actually get to net zero.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Hanley, go ahead.
I wanted to put a deferral motion on the floor, Mr. Mayor, and defer this item totally until the budget, because I think we need to look at the big picture. We're hiring individuals, and I know just from discussions I've had since being reelected, we're probably looking at double-digit increases in staff, and I think we need to do it all in the whole and not piecemeal, and that's what I think we're doing here. So I want to put a deferral motion to the floor and defer it until the 2023 budget deliberations.
Can I get a seconder? Is there a seconder? Councillor DeRose. So this is a deferral motion. There is no debate that it gets deferred to budget. Are you ready for this? Are we going to do it just by show of hands? Okay, all those in favor? No, it's a deferral motion. It's gone. All those in favor, please. I got 3. Are you at? So well, put the hands right up so the clerk can read them, please. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and against 1, 2, and I don't, and 3. So that deferral's carried. Okay. So the deferral's carried that this issue will be addressed as part of budget deliberations. Okay. Okay. 15.2, CC 62-2022, Committees of Council, Terms of Reference Review. Can I get a mover and a seconder before I turn it over to the clerk to discuss this? I got Councillor D'Angela and Councillor DeRose as the seconder. Go ahead. And I'll turn this over to Matthew Trenum, our city clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recommendations of the report are that the revised and updated committees of council terms of reference be approved, and additionally that a diversity, equity, and inclusion advisory committee be established and that its terms of reference be approved. Mr. Mayor, I'd just note the slate of committees that are included in this report are the ones that would, once approved tonight, allow the city to start recruiting applicants for these positions. That would get posted this week and then be posted throughout December. Committee appointments for councillors would occur at the next meeting. Committee appointments for members of the public would occur at our meeting in January. Of note, additionally, there has also been a request for to bring forward terms of reference for an environmental and climate change advisory committee. Yeah. That will be coming forward, looking for the December 20th meeting.
Okay, so that hasn't been forgotten. That is going to be brought forward at the next meeting. And now the reports on the floor, and I got Councillor D'Angela to start things off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The one thing I wanted to point out in terms of reference, I was just looking at all the committees. Basically,
for this structure, and I just want to make sure I'm reading this right. When the committee consists of, and it says following members, it has councillors 1. Does that mean only one councillor could sit on there, or should we change that to a minimum of 1 councillor? Because I'm sure there's going to be a few of us. I know Councillor Rose just mentioned the Road Safety Committee. He's interested in re-sitting on it. That's one I'd be interested in sitting on. There's 2 of us, but it only says 1 in the terms of reference. So I'm looking at a way so we can move around that. So it says if at least 1, then a few of us could be sitting on different committees or multiple committees. So if I could have clarity on that?
Yes, I'll ask the clerk that.
So through the mayor, the way they have been written is essentially the same membership as we had for them previously. We haven't made changes to that. To your point, we're also not fully aware of the interest in membership on these committees, and what we can do is assess that interest prior to the next meeting when we're making our committee appointments. Should council desire to increase, decrease, or modify the committee membership in any way while they're appointing members, you can also amend those terms of reference to do so. So my example being, should 2 members both wish to fulfill 1 position on a committee, if council makes its determination, they could put both on, amending the term of reference to have 2 or a minimum 1. And you can change that wording as we're actually making those appointments. If you'd like to make amendments tonight, you could do that as well.
So basically what he's saying is next meeting, when we put our appointments, but if we want 2 on, say, that road safety, we can do it then and he'll update the terms of reference. But if you want to do it tonight, we can make those changes. But we don't know what the interest is in each committee. That's the thing. Or that night we will.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know, but it doesn't matter what the interest is. If you say minimum of 1, if there's 3 interested, then 3 get on it, right? So I think it opens it up for councillors who want to sit on that. I would like to clean it up now since
we can do that. That's fine.
So on the 8 of them,
okay.
9 of them, I would just add, there's a couple that have 2, and then you could put a minimum of 2, or you could, again, or a minimum of 1, whatever you want to do, but allow council, this way there's some openness in it. In terms of public interest, that's where we can look at it a little bit more differently when they do come back after the public has applied for it, because I know some of the committees do ask for specific members. One asks for someone off thorough nonprofit housing. Like if there's no demand or there's no supply there, then you're going to have to work around that.
So can we change the terms to minimum of 2, minimum of 1? That leaves it open then.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Are you good with that?
So I think what we'll do is we'll change all the terms of reference to use the word minimum.
Yeah.
And that's about it then. Thanks.
Minimum of 2, minimum of 1, what's on there, and then that means we can have more.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll just ask, is that a friendly amendment to them?
Is that a friendly amendment?
I have Councillor D'Angelo moved and Councillor DeRose seconded.
Let me think about it. No, it's friendly.
Friendly? Does anybody have any thing they want to add to that? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it's a great idea. One of the reasons I'm on the certain committees I am is because I can't meet in the daytime because I teach. Oh. But I think Councillor D'Angelo would be an excellent addition to that committee. So that's a great idea. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on these committees of the structure, the way they've been drawn up, the changes? I got Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to address Appendix 9, if I may. Can I talk about it? That's the heritage and tourism.
Yes.
Okay, I just prepared a little short statement, so I'll just read it.
No, go right ahead.
Okay.
I was going to speak on that myself. So.
Okay. Well, let me get the ball rolling. All right. Why should heritage be its own committee? If heritage is combined with tourism as a single committee, it could lead to undermining the importance of heritage in Thorold. With the introduction of Bill 23, there's never been a more important time for a strong heritage committee to preserve and protect. The goal of heritage preservation is not to promote tourism. That is just one way the economy can benefit from heritage preservation. Heritage preservation is about cultural identity and local character of a community to set it apart from the next community. Today, urban spaces have lost the sense of place and diversity. The importance of heritage is the glue that connects our city together. The Prince of Wales Award is a result of the dedication and hard work of the Heritage Committee, and this work has put Thorold on the map as a desirable community to live in and visit. Thorold's heritage is not preserved solely for others, such as tourists. It's important because it invokes common identities, ownership, and city pride. And lastly, urban planning today is looking towards sustainable practices. Heritage preservation reduces waste and preserves valuable resources. Heritage preservation has a direct impact on our city and should work hand in hand with city planners. The Heritage Committee's importance cannot be stressed enough.
So do you want to bring a motion forward that those two stay separate?
Yes.
And do I have a seconder for that? That tourism and heritage stay separate? I got Councillor D'Angela and I had a mover, Councillor O'Hara. Does anyone want to speak on that? Or is everybody good with that change? Okay, so that is to put those two separate.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just a clarification. I'll just ask if council is comfortable with the wording that's in here just being separated between the two, or if they would like, what I can do is I can bring back an updated terms of reference for each committee to the next meeting, but go ahead with recruitment for both committees based on the
that would be the path forward I would suggest. So is everybody good with that? Okay. Okay then. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Does anyone else want to speak to anything else before we put the report on the floor? Okay. Seeing none, I had a mover, Councillor D'Angelo, and a seconder, Councillor DeRose. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Now we're on to C4 2022, appointment of members to the Thorold Business Improvement Area, the BIA. I'll get a mover and a seconder for that before I get the clerk to bring it. I got a mover, Councillor Decker, and a seconder. I need a seconder, Councillor Dividitis. So now I'll turn it over to our clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Correspondence item CC-C for 2022 is a memorandum from myself advising of the applicants for appointment to the Thorold Business Improvement Area. I ask that the memo be received and that the appointments which are contained in confidential appendix number 1 to correspondence item be approved.
So are we appointing our council members tonight, or are we doing that at the next meeting?
The appointment of councillors, Mr. Mayor, would be at the currently the next meeting. However, as there's a member, we could appoint that tonight as well.
Okay.
We can do both.
Would you?
So I would ask if there is any discussion of the appointees for the members of the public to the committee. Again, as those aren't public yet, we would have to have that discussion in closed session. If the committee is comfortable, or if council is comfortable with the appointments as is, we can proceed with appointing them, at which point I can read out the membership, and at which point I could then accept a motion to appoint a council member to the committee as well, or to the BIA.
Or two, yeah. Okay. How do we want to proceed? Is everybody good? Do we need to go in camera with this? That's my, I guess. Councillor Decker, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm good with the people that have put their name forth to be on the committee.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We'll vote on that, and then we'll come back to the councillor. I had a mover, Councillor Decker, and a seconder, Councillor Dividitis. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Do you want to read the names now?
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll advise then that the newly appointed members of the Thorold BIA Board are Serge Carpino, Marcia Coppola, and Angie Coates.
Thank you. Now, do we want to appoint our council members this evening? Or do you want to wait till next meeting? If you want to do it this evening, we'll open the floor for nominations. You want to do it this evening? Okay. Can I get, I'll open the floor for nominations. Go ahead, Councillor Decker.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, do we know what time this committee meets? So that's why I was hoping that we could wait to our, until our next council meeting. I know there's been an issue with meetings during the day that some of us that work are not able to attend. So do we know when they meet?
My understanding, and the people that sat on it, I think, were Councillor Sentence and Councillor Longo. I think they meet during the day, do they not?
Yes.
They do. They meet during the day.
So I know I had a discussion, I'm not sure with who, that perhaps maybe some of these meetings should be moved to the evenings so that councillors can participate in different committees. I think that was the issue with last time, trying to get on committees, is that if you work during the day and you don't have access to Zoom, you can't attend these meetings. So is there any way we can look at moving some of these meetings or most of our meetings to evenings where people are available to attend?
Traditionally, what happens is that when the committee meets the first time, they can have that discussion. Certain committees do meet during the day because of the people that are on the committee. Other committees are more flexible, but that's a conversation that would be had at the first meeting that when the committee gets up and running. That's the way I've seen it in the past dealt with. So do you want to fill this, or do you want to do them all next meeting now that?
I'd like to wait till the next meeting, but
Okay,
that's just.
I'm fine. Is everybody fine that we'll do them all the next meeting? Okay. We don't need to vote on that. We'll do them all next meeting. Thank you. Okay, that takes care of that.
Just a question on that. Could I ask a question? When is the paperwork for people at large due by?
He's going to send it out, and he'll let you know, I think, end of the year, beginning of the year, or what is your?
Yeah, through the mayor, we'll keep the applications open till the end of December. To the end of the calendar year.
Even if you can go an extra week, because our meeting in January is not till the middle.
We can extend it into the first week of January as well.
Yeah, let's try and get as many people interested in the applications.
And
Okay?
just so you know, Mr. Mayor, current members have been asking as well. We'll circulate that information to all members that were on the councils of the previous, or the committees of the previous term.
I know there's a lot of people anxious to get up and running, for sure. Okay, so now we're going to go to 15.4, CCC 5 2022, appointment to the Niagara Transit Commission Board. Can I get a mover and seconder before I turn it over to the clerk? I got Councillor DeRose as a seconder. I got Councillor O'Hare. And now I'll turn it over to our city clerk, Matthew Trenham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're in receipt of correspondence from Niagara Region seeking a nominee for appointment to the board. Once a nominee is named by council tonight, correspondence will be sent to Niagara Region for formal appointment to the commission.
Okay, so will the floor for nominations. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Hare. Did you want to nominate someone, or did you want?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Longo.
Councillor Longo. Okay. Do we need a seconder or no? Okay. Any further nominations? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Can we ask who would be interested in it?
Well, we will once. I'll go through it, and then a person he'll have to accept or decline. Okay. Anyone else? Before I go any further, I'll now ask Councillor Longo, would he stand for this position?
Yes, I would, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so Councillor Longo will stand. So we have a candidate. Any further nominations? Seeing none? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Diaz.
No further nominations, but if Councillor Longo runs into any conflict with timing, because depending on when the meetings are, I am interested, but I have quite a bit of transit concerns, but I'll pass them on to Councillor Longo so he could deal with them.
Sounds good.
So I have no issue with that.
And and I'm sure we all will. Okay, so I had a mover was Councillor DeRose, right? And the seconder, Councillor O'Hare. Did you want to make a comment before I do the vote?
I'll nominate. Are we nominating other people?
Yeah. If you want.
You don't want to?
No, I'm
just saying. I thought you were interested in it. I'm sorry. I'll take that back, Mr. Mayor. Sorry.
Okay, so we have Councillor Longo's name's forward, and he said he will stand. I had a mover, Councillor DeRose, and a seconder, Councillor O'Hara. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Congratulations, Councillor Longo.
Mr. Mayor, if you could just offer me an indulgence. Going back to 10.3, the appointment members of the it was more in relation to what the clerk said. In terms of advertising for membership of these committees, maybe he just outlined what he's planning on doing, so maybe we could add some other ideas in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
We want to get as many people involved, and just posting it online doesn't always work.
I can't hear Councillor D'Angelo speaking.
Oh, sorry.
Your mic on?
Yeah, my mic's on. My apologies.
Can you hear it now, Councillor Decker?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just like to make sure that we look at all different venues of advertising, like even putting posters up in our community buildings, just so we hit all types of media so that people are aware. Not everyone has a computer, and those that want to volunteer, we have to bring as many people into Thorold to make it better and have some great ideas.
Sounds like a plan, and the clerk will follow up on that. And also now we have a communications person that we can utilize that we never had in the past, so we'll definitely be doing that. Do you want to comment on that?
So, Mr. Mayor, also what we'll do is we'll promote it on our social media as well, but you rightly pointed out that there are people who are not computer savvy, so we will do some posters as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I know, Mr. Mayor, you're on the radio every once in a while. Throw a plug in there for our volunteers.
Yeah, I will definitely do that. I should ask them to put me on to talk about our committee's accounts. Okay, that's the end of that. What do we got? Now we're on to notices of motion. I got Councillor Decker. Did you have a notice of motion for the next meeting?
I do through you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to give notice that on December 20th, I will bring forward a motion respecting the inclusion of the Santa Claus Parade event in the 2023 budget process as an annual city run event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor O'Hara.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to give notice of motion that I'll be bringing forward a motion at a future meeting of council respecting the direction of staff to prepare a report and a draft of bylaw concerning the protection of Thorold's mature trees.
Thank you. And now I have Councillor DeRose. Go ahead.
Three, Mr. Mayor. I've got three here. The first one is I want to, and this came up earlier with Councillor Whalen. I want to direct the regional doctor recruiters to proactively help and assist in further recruitment of family physicians for Thorold. Half our taxes go to the region. We need their help, and we need to get their attention that we do need family doctors. Number two, that the region seriously consider a long-term care facility for seniors in Thorold. We're one of the few communities that don't have one, and I've spoken to our CAO about it, and I think it's a priority for us to get their attention. And the last one, I don't know if I should have probably talked to their planning director, but anyway, I just thought of it now. But can I ask for a brief staff report on how we can best address having bylaw coverage Friday night to Sunday morning, or at least Friday night into the night when the parties are happening? I know some communities do it Thursday night. They start at Thursday to Sunday. But I'm getting a lot of texts and calls on the weekend. And, you know, I try to accommodate them, and then I'll put a call into the city, leave a message, or also, you know, sometimes call Steve and bother him. But I think we need to be able to reach someone for any bylaw infractions. And I know it's probably in certain neighborhoods it may not be safe, so you might, I don't know if you need two, but I'll leave that up to Jason. And I apologize for not bringing it to your attention earlier, but if there's something we can do, I would like to bring that forward at one of the next few meetings. There's no rush.
Thank you. Oh, no, she's... Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
I'd like to give notice of putting a motion forward for an external organization and review. I believe the city need one. An expansion calls for review. We're the 4th fastest growing municipality in Ontario, the 8th fastest growing in Canada. We've heard tonight that there's staff not available. And I would ask, prior to my motion to come forward on the 20th, that I may be able to receive a copy and any recommendations passed by council in regards to any type of organization review we've done after what I can find. The last one we done I could find was in 1995 when Mal Woodhouse was mayor. And I can't find no extensive external ones that we've done since then, but if there has been one, would I be able to get that report and any recommendations that was by council? Please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Now, we're going to go into closed meeting. Before a mover or seconder to go into closed session, I would like to remind you of your obligations respecting closed session. Those who are participating electronically in a closed session must ensure that no other person is in the location from which they are taking part in the meeting, or make appropriate arrangements so that any other persons cannot see or hear any of the confidential deliberations taking place. If this is not possible, you must withdraw from the meeting until it has reconvened in open session. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the following motion? I got Councillor Sentence and seconder Councillor Hanley. That council do now move into closed session for the purposes of receiving information of a confidential nature respecting: number 1, a matter respecting labor relations under Section 239 2D of the Municipal Act 2001, Labor Negotiation Update. And number 2, a matter respecting a proposed disposition of land by the municipality under S 239 2C of the Municipal Act 2001, 30 Carlton Street North, McMillan Field Update. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So we'll get ready to get the room ready for that. And Councillor Decker, you have to go in on your other closed session Zoom link.
Yep, thank you. I'm just going to excuse myself for a few minutes.